A tariff is a tax, but not just any tax. It's one that specifically targets goods crossing international borders. When products are imported from other countries, governments can place tariffs on them, making those goods more expensive as they enter the country. Imagine you're at a store eyeing a toy car that was manufactured overseas. Because of tariffs, that toy car costs more than it would without the tax, and you end up paying a higher price at the register. The main goal of tariffs is to protect local businesses and industries. By making imported goods pricier, tariffs encourage shoppers to choose products made closer to home, supporting local factories and shops. This protection can help local companies grow, stay competitive, and even expand, which in turn can help keep jobs within the country and support the local economy. But there's a flip side. Tariffs often mean higher prices for everyday items, like clothes, electronics, and cars, because companies usually pass the extra costs on to consumers. So even a small tax on imports can add up, making your weekly shopping bill noticeably higher and stretching your budget further. That's why tariffs matter to everyone, not just economists or politicians, but families, students, and anyone who shops for goods, whether imported or local. Supporters of tariffs argue they're necessary to make trade fair, especially if other countries are selling goods at prices that undercut local businesses or use unfair practices. By imposing tariffs, governments can try to level the playing field, protect jobs in important industries like steel or automotive, and respond to unfair trade from abroad. But there's always a trade-off. Protecting local businesses and jobs can mean higher prices for everyone, so consumers have to weigh the benefits and drawbacks. The debate over tariffs is a fundamental question of economic policy, shaping how countries interact and compete in the global marketplace. Whether you realize it or not, tariffs can affect your wallet, your job prospects, and the choices you make every day as a consumer. During his presidency, Donald Trump made tariffs a central part of U.S. trade policy, marking a dramatic shift from previous administrations that had generally favored free trade and open markets. In 2018, his administration imposed heavy taxes on imported steel and aluminum, citing national security concerns and arguing that American industries needed protection from foreign competition to ensure the country's safety and economic independence. The biggest target, though, was China. Thousands of Chinese goods faced new tariffs as part of a broader trade conflict. The administration accused China of unfair trade practices, intellectual property theft, and manipulating its currency, sparking a trade war that would last for years. The administration argued these moves would protect American industries, save manufacturing jobs, and pressure China to change its behavior. Supporters believed tariffs would help level the playing field for American workers and businesses. But the tariffs hit more than just big industries. They raised prices on everyday items like washing machines, bicycles, and pet food. Consumers across the country began to notice higher costs at the checkout, as companies passed on the increased expenses. Many American businesses struggled with higher costs for imported materials, often passing those costs to consumers. Small businesses in particular found it difficult to absorb the price hikes, leading to tough choices about hiring, wages, and even staying open. The administration relied on old laws like Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act and the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to justify the tariffs. These laws, originally designed for national emergencies, gave the president broad authority to restrict imports. Critics argued these laws were stretched beyond their original intent, giving the president too much power over economic policy. They warned that using national security as a justification for tariffs could set a dangerous precedent for future administrations. The debate set the stage for a major legal showdown, as courts, lawmakers, and the public questioned just how much authority the president should have over trade, and what the long-term impact of these tariffs would be on the American economy. As soon as the Trump tariffs took effect, American companies pushed back. They argued the president had overstepped, imposing sweeping tariffs without clear authority from Congress. Lawsuits quickly followed, claiming the Constitution gives Congress, not the president, the power to tax. Lower courts heard the cases, with some siding with businesses and others with the government. A turning point came when the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit ruled the president had gone too far, saying such major economic actions need explicit congressional approval. This decision struck down many tariffs and set up a final appeal. The government took the fight to the Supreme Court, arguing the president needed flexibility to protect national interests. The Supreme Court agreed to hear the case, recognizing its huge implications for presidential power and trade. The stage was set for a landmark decision. On September 17, 2025, the Supreme Court delivered a landmark ruling that will fundamentally reshape American trade policy for years to come. The decision sent shockwaves through Washington, as lawmakers, business leaders, and legal experts scrambled to understand its far-reaching implications. In a decisive move, the justices overturned the Trump-era tariffs, not because of their economic impact, but because of the process by which they were imposed. The court emphasized that the issue was not about whether tariffs are good or bad for the economy, but about who has the legitimate authority to enact them. The court ruled that only Congress, as the direct representative of the people, has the constitutional authority to levy taxes, including tariffs. This principle, they argued, is a cornerstone of American democracy and a vital safeguard against executive overreach. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution clearly gives this power to Congress, not the President. The justices pointed to the text as a clear guide, reinforcing the separation of powers that underpins the U.S. government. The justices said the laws used by the Trump administration were too vague and open-ended to justify such sweeping tariffs. They warned that allowing such broad interpretations could set a dangerous precedent for future presidents. The president, they ruled, cannot invent new taxing powers or use old laws as a blank check to bypass Congress. This decision draws a clear line, reminding future administrations that executive power has limits. Even in matters of national security, the president must stay within constitutional limits. The court acknowledged the importance of security, but insisted that it cannot be used as a justification to ignore the Constitution. The decision reasserts Congress as the primary decision-maker on trade and taxes, restoring a balance of power that has eroded over decades. Lawmakers now have a renewed responsibility to debate and decide on these critical issues. If a president wants to impose major tariffs in the future, they must get explicit approval from Congress. This ensures that such impactful decisions are made transparently and with public debate, not by executive order alone. This ruling restores a crucial check on executive power, reaffirming the Constitution's enduring role in American governance and setting a powerful precedent for generations to come. Central to the Supreme Court's decision is the major questions doctrine. This legal principle says that for actions with huge economic or political impact, the president or agencies need clear, specific permission from Congress. Vague or general laws aren't enough for big, transformative decisions. The court found that the Trump tariffs were a major question, a fundamental shift in trade policy. The administration argued that emergency powers laws gave the president authority, but the court disagreed. The justices said those laws were too broad and not meant for creating massive new tax systems. The doctrine forces Congress to be explicit if it wants to grant broad powers. It prevents presidents from stretching old laws to justify sweeping new policies. The result, Congress, the most accountable branch, must make the biggest decisions. The major questions doctrine is now a key safeguard in American law. This ruling isn't an outlier, it's part of a clear Supreme Court trend. In recent years, the court has used the major questions doctrine to limit executive power, regardless of which party is in the White House. In 2022, the court blocked OSHA's sweeping COVID-19 workplace mandate, saying Congress hadn't clearly authorized it. That same year, the court limited the EPA's power to regulate greenhouse gases, again citing lack of explicit congressional approval. In 2023, the court struck down a major student loan forgiveness plan for the same reason. Each time, the message was clear. Major national policies require clear laws from Congress, not creative reinterpretations by the executive branch. The Trump tariff decision fits this pattern, shifting power back to the legislative branch. For big national changes, the president must work with Congress. The Supreme Court's decision to overturn the tariffs will likely mean lower prices for American consumers. With tariffs gone, import costs drop, and companies can pass those savings to shoppers. Expect to see prices fall on electronics, appliances, shoes, and furniture, anything that relied on imported materials. The change won't be instant, but it should ease the cost of living over time. American businesses that paid billions in tariffs may now claim refunds, giving them a financial boost. This could help companies invest, expand, or hire more workers. The ruling not only corrects a past overreach, but could also stimulate economic growth. For families and businesses alike, the impact will be felt in everyday budgets. It's a rare Supreme Court decision with a direct effect on your wallet. This Supreme Court decision marks a turning point in American governance. For decades, presidents have expanded their power to act alone on big issues. Now, the court has drawn a clear line. Major economic actions like tariffs require Congress's explicit approval. Future presidents will need to persuade Congress and the public before imposing sweeping trade policies. This shift makes trade policy more democratic and transparent. It strengthens the system of checks and balances at the heart of the Constitution. Congress, not the president, will be accountable for major economic decisions. While this may slow government action, it increases accountability and public debate. The ruling is a powerful reaffirmation of the legislative branch's central role. It's a landmark moment for both the economy and American democracy.